This time of year, we don't usually get caught up too much in hoops, right? Because it's early. Things will settle themselves. All these things take time, take legit time to figure out. But I'll tell you what doesn't take legit time to figure out. The Warriors are playing at a remarkable level, and the Nets, well, they're not at that level. Don't believe me? Here's Steve Nash asked about the comparison between his team and the Warriors.
I just don't think we're in that category yet. We got a lot of work to do. We're trying to, improve as a group, get better. Hopefully we can find a way to overcome some of our deficiencies by the end of the year. I think the guys have been great as far as buying into what we want to do defensively. No one would have picked us as a top 10 defense to start the year. We're defending. We're finding a way. I think offensively, we have all these different lineups, different background styles of play, 10 new players on our team. It takes time. We started the year with a continuity plan from last year that got thrown out the window, obviously, when Kai didn't come back. So we're trying to build and figure it out. When you play a really good defense, it really tests you. And I think tonight it was a great lesson for us that we got to double down on some of our principles when the going gets tough.
I don't think that was word salad in any way. I think there's a lot of reality to it. But I would also point out that, here the Nets are looking at the Warriors, and what's the difference in them and the Warriors? The Warriors have added some new pieces, but they do have continuity from last year. And the new pieces, are guys that aren't starting, right? Kuminga is coming out the bench, but playing really well as a rookie. Iguodala's back, but he was there so long before that's not that big a deal. Obviously, Gary Payton has had this unbelievable impact since being added, right? He's played all over the league, but the starters are all kind of the same. And, they also they're also waiting for Klay Thompson to come back. So what's the big takeaway? Well, I think the biggest takeaway is that tales of the demise of Steph Curry have been greatly exaggerated. 9 of 14 from 3 is ridiculous. Now, can we point out that, that this lineup that they're throwing out, whether it's James Harden, Patty Mills is a good little defender, but more of a bench player. There's just a difference in a Patty Mills, obviously, and a Steph Curry. Patty Mills, truthfully, was brought into the Nets to be the sixth man, not to be the starting point guard. He's the starter because Kyrie's not here. And that's where that gets shown. But I think what Nash said is 100% accurate. Is the teams that are playing the best, you would think, are the ones that have the most continuity. Now, what goes counter to that is the Bulls, right? The Bulls have added Lonzo Ball. The Bulls have added Alex Caruso. Those two have dramatically changed the Bulls. The Wizards are playing really well. They have all new pieces around Brad Beal. So why is it only the Nets that are facing these chemistry issues? And I think what he's saying is look, it's not that you're facing chemistry issues on a daily basis, but when you're playing the top of the league, now it's different. Right? Let's keep in mind that this win streak that the Nets run, the 3 in a row, Magic, Pelicans, Thunder. Did that do anything for you? Who'd they lose to? Bulls. Who'd they lose to? Heat. Who'd they lose to? Bucks. And all of their losses are to the good teams, and they're just doing their job and beating up on these subpar teams. And in order to beat the elite level teams, they're going to have Kyrie Irving. And you could say, well, that makes Kyrie Irving incredibly valuable. Of course he's valuable. But everyone's value is different based upon how the team is constructed. Right? It's one of the reasons we had such fear over the Tennessee Titans collapsing. Running backs are replaceable, but Derrick Henry seems to be irreplaceable because of the volume of carries and the importance on his play with how they play. LeBron the teams have always been built around LeBron. And so when LeBron's out, there's a much more pronounced difference. Whereas when you build kind of a nice ensemble cast of a bunch of really good players, the missing a guy isn't as obvious, right? Isn't as obvious. But man, Steph Curry is some kind of player. And you'd have to think the addition of Klay Thompson, this is where the G League becomes important. You can use the G League to get him up to speed. You can then play him some minutes in the NBA. And so you're not just throwing him in the deep end and having him play in the playoffs. Like that won't work. But you get around the 1st of January or around Christmas time and he's played some G League games to get up and going. I mean, now all of a sudden he's going to have a lot more confidence and there's a much bigger ramp up in getting him ready for the NBA. But I wouldn't sell my Brooklyn stock yet. You know, if you don't like Brooklyn, do you like New York better? No, they don't have a Kevin Durant or a James Harden. Do you like Philadelphia better? No. See what they can add in the Ben Simmons trade. Do you like Boston? No. They have 2 really talented chuckers, but not a great team. Do you like Toronto? Yeah, they're fine. I mean, that's actually a really good division, but the Nets are clearly the class of that division. But if you couldn't see this coming with the Warriors last year, you weren't paying attention. That Jordan Poole was elevating himself, that Steph Curry was back. And, of course, if you surround Draymond with scores, now all of a sudden all the little things he does becomes much more obvious. By the way, here's Steve Kerr on what makes Steph Curry unique.
There's never been anybody like him. So he's an offense just by himself. He's an offense because he's going to pull defenders with him 35 feet from the hoop. And then it's a matter of putting smart people around him like Draymond, like Andre, and, many others who are going to, take that defensive attention that Steph gets and then make behind the play when Steph gets the ball out of his hands. So the fact that Steph can be dominant on and off the ball is what makes him unique. There's nobody in the league now, or as far as I'm concerned, ever who had that combination of on-ball skill and pick and roll dominance, but the off-ball game of Reggie Miller or Rip Hamilton or somebody flying off screens. That combination has never been seen.
I completely agree. Right, that's the difference is some guys do it on the ball, some guys do it off the ball. Some guys do it going left, some guys do it going right. He goes either way, and he can catch and shoot. And he can catch and shoot. And that guy it's crazy. And there's such fear of kind of the humiliation of the 9 threes that you're constantly running out, and that leaves it open for layups and easy shots. And so while they're technically playing 4-on-5 with Draymond, who won't shoot, you're playing like 5.5, 6-on-5 because you have Steph with and without the basketball. I think he's more dangerous without the basketball than with it because now you're constantly looking. You have to watch the ball, and then you have to look for him.